permitted collective is allowed to have a 99 plant grow for the collective itself. Here's the problem. Number 13 is each clone or cutting from a cannabis plant that is individually sold or distributed at an MCD, which is the medical cannabis dispensary, will be counted as a plant as it pertains to the quantity limits established in Article 33. Article 33 is our MCD ordinance. So that means that if your co-op has a 50 plant grow for its patients, it can only have 45 clones available, which means individual patients, how many plants would it take? It would take about 3 people to come in the morning and purchase 24 clones that you're allowed as a patient, and then there would be no clones the rest of the day. It doesn't make any sense. Across the bay, in places like Harborside, they sell thousands of clones each day. Okay? And they should. What we want to see is patients having access to good genetics. You're not going to have that same access if the quantity that you're allowed to purchase is severely limited. Right? So that's why we want to fight this. It also limits...
We need 2 more, Michelle.
We need 2 more? Okay. 2 more of these. So you can just... Okay. And then we're going to need to print off another 20 more for tomorrow morning anyway. So just print out 25. It's just going to severely limit your ability to grow for yourself. And we all know that we can't all grow for ourselves. We all don't have that spare room. So then when your caretaker goes, when your caretaker goes to purchase the clones for you, he's gonna or she's gonna have to stand at that co-op in line in the morning and hope to be one of the first 3 people to be able to purchase a clone. It would be as if a restaurant had 4 hamburgers to serve that day. Right? Makes no sense.
Supply and demand.
We think there's 2 alternatives. You cap, instead of counting a clone as a plant, right? Because it's not the starter plant is not intended to be in the patient garden for that co-op. It's intended to go to a co-op member to their own personal garden. So it's not, let's be real, it's not intended, and why should it be counted towards the 99 that your co-op can grow? It should be limited that patients can only purchase 24, because each patient is allowed 24 plants by the law. So it should if they want to put a limit, that should be the limit, right? And then the other thing that is done in the East Bay that I'm pushing for, and want to see if you guys think makes sense, is a nursery permit for the co-op. So not only do you have your land use permit for your dispensary, but you can have a nursery permit for your nursery, so that when people go into the nursery, they show their patient papers. They say, I'd like to purchase 24 allowed by law starter plants, for either someone to grow for you or for you to grow for yourself. It would be nice to have them permitted, because then you know that the mothers would be taken care of. You might even be able to view the mothers. You would know a little bit more about the background and where they came from and etc. And hopefully we'd create a better cultivating culture in San Francisco that would have some really nice genetics, And if it's already been done somewhere else, why can't we do it here? Right. We're supposed to be the premier sanctuary city in America. Why would we limit patients' access to be able to grow for themselves? So I'm asking this body of patient advocates to vote down number 13, that each clone or cutting from a cannabis plant that is individually sold or distributed at an NCD will be counted as a plant as it pertains to quantity limits established in Article 33. Is there a second on that?
I second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The things I've done in the last 5 years is making sure that the small mom and pop compassionate dispensaries would have a leg to stand on, and that we wouldn't zone it down to having 4 mega stores with, metal detectors and hired security and all this kind of stuff, The other thing that the Medical Cannabis Task Force is going to be looking at, and this is sort of an emergency meeting that we're having because of the proposed legislation that's going to be coming at us before our next seated meeting. But in the meantime, I have been pushing, and I've received pushback, but I have been pushing to do a press conference about safe cultivation practices, because this is only one in a series of several articles that I believe the SFPD's media is putting out about all of the raids. In the last 6 months, there's been over 23 indoor providers raided in the Sunset District. Now, some of these folks are problem cultivators, meaning that they are not growing for patients, that they are stealing power. On some of the sites, other substances have been found. So it's not like we're going in and we're saying these guys are our buddies, okay? Because they are not.
So and also the automatic weapons and all that.
Automatic weapons, exactly. So these guys aren't our buddies. They're not anybody that anybody is associated with. But the point is, a lot of what's coming out is tips on how to turn your neighbors in for cultivation. That's bad for us, because in the Sunset we also have hundreds, maybe even thousands, of good medical cannabis providers that have been being good neighbors, good providers, not stealing electricity, not having other substances, not, doing any type of criminal activity, but yet their neighbors are told to turn them in. That's a huge problem with me. That Access of Love, with attorney Omar Figueroa of Pier 5 Lawyers, Kathy Smith from HopeNet, have been meeting with Deputy Chief Shin of the SFPD and have been talking about suggested guidelines for public safety around medical cannabis cultivation. So what I've been asking the community to do, and I have the support of the supervisors, but not the support of some of the stakeholders, is put together a press conference that would illuminate the fact that there are many providers who are doing the right thing. Here's how to do the right thing. Here are the practices that the compassionate community discourages, so that at least we're having a response and some input into this conversation that's constructive.